So again, just like the other side, we're going to start high and work our way down. Start the high. The highest thing up here, yeah, it varies, but we're going to talk about a power steering reservoir right here. This holds a power steering fluid. So, probably not secured, right? How? Well, there's this bracket right here. It's attached to the radiator bracket. It's not cracked or broken. It's also not leaking because this holds fluid, right? No leaks. It's filled up to the proper level, proper operating range. We can see that here. We also have a dipstick up on top here we can check also. Now, you don't have to physically take this out, all right? But just know that that's there if you need it. All right, so that's our radiator overflow jug. We're going to go into our radiator hose. I'm sorry.
That's a windshield.
Power steering hose.
Okay.
There's two hoses that come off it. Your power steering system, it's a closed system, all right? It goes from your reservoir to your power steering pump to the power steering gearbox and comes back. You can follow the hoses. It goes to the pump. This blue line returns back to your power steering gearbox, and this line comes back to here. So if you ever get confused, you're kind of stumbling around, always follow the hoses. That'll take you where you want to go. So we're going to talk about hoses next. So it's rubber, no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. It's full of liquid, no leaks. Also, our connections are secure and tight. Now if we follow our line, we can see it ends up at this little silver device. It's the only part down there that's not colored red. Ever see that? Right back here? That's your power steering pump. Properly mounted, secured to the engine. Not cracked or broken. It's not leaking. Right off the top. Now we're going to be more specific. Everything on the passenger side was belt driven, right? Everything on this side is going to be gear driven. That means, I'm no mechanic here, but basically what it means is it runs off the crank of the motor. There's an actual camshaft, so to speak, that actually comes out of this gearbox and goes straight into the two components, your air compressor and your power steering box. So when you rev the motor up, they're going to spin faster. That's basically all that means. So our power steering pump is gear driven. We're going to go to the next component, which is your air compressor. This is the component that you saw in the movie yesterday that pumps the air, provides the air for your air brake system, fills up the tanks. And that's this component right here. It starts here, goes all the way to the bottom. So it's that whole piece right in the middle. It's between this and the power steering pump. That whole unit. It's tall.
Let's call it the air compressor.
Air compressor, correct.
Point it on.
Yep. It starts here. This is the top of it. The bottom is down. It's that whole piece. That whole red piece.
But so we follow from the power steering pump. We know the next component is the air compressor.
Because basically the power steering pump is connected to the air compressor.
And because it's gear driven on this side of the engine, all those gears probably
They're also gear driven. Correct.
Yep.
The air compressor is also gear driven. You got it. So our power steering pump is gear driven. Our air compressor, it's properly not secured. It's not cracked or broken. It's not leaking. There's air inside of it, right? So it's not leaking. Also, it's gear driven. Those are the only two components that are gear driven. Two components on the other side that are belt driven. Two gear driven on this side. Are you following along so far? Questions? Good? All right. We're working our way down. So our next component that we're going to talk about is our engine oil dipstick. It's this yellow cap right here. Actually physically comes out. Now you don't have to take this out for the test. Don't even have to think about taking it out. But you need to talk about it. Engine oil dipstick level. I would remove this out, and I would check to make sure the oil is at the proper operating range, the proper level, whatever terminology you want to use. As long as you make sure it's where it needs to be. Also, you want to say it's properly mounted, secured to this bracket, and it's not leaking. Now, when we say leaking, it's like, well, how's that going to leak? They're talking about where it actually goes into the crankcase itself, the oil crankcase. Wherever it goes in there, a lot of times that leaks right there, and you'll see puddles on the ground. You don't have to say that for the test, but just FYI. All right, let's keep working our way down. Actually, we're going to work our way out now. Component right here. What do you think that is? Let's follow it.
That's the shaft.
Steering shaft. Steering column, steering shaft. Terms are interchangeable. Use either one. So our steering shaft. It's properly mounted, secured with U-joints. There's a U-joint here. This is called a U-joint. There's also another one up here. up right next against the firewall. But our drive shaft itself, it's not cracked or broken, it's not bent. Everything is cracked and broken, but a couple things you got to say something extra. And this one's bent. I call those keywords that you want to remember, above and beyond. Not cracked or broken, not bent. We're going to talk about our U-joints here too, one here and one up here. They're properly greased, and there's no debris or foreign objects stuck inside there that's going to prevent the wheel from turning the way it should. All right, keep working our way down. We're in the power steering system now. We're in the steering system. We're going to talk about this big component right here. This is your power steering gearbox. It's properly mounted secured to the frame. This whole piece here is called your frame. It goes from here all the way to the very back of the truck. There's a lot of things that would be properly mounted secured to this frame. So it's properly mounted secured to the frame with these big bolts. It's not cracked or broken. It's not leaking. There's power steering fluid inside there. Right. Now we're actually going to go into the steering components itself. What I'm going to do, I'm going to fire up this motor real quick. I'm going to turn the wheel so we can see things a little bit better.